Wow, I like this. When we turn off the lights, everyone starts to pay attention. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Wow, thank you. Very good. And the lights come back on. Great. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Evan Millward. Happy to be here for the 7th annual OneNKY Summit here at the St. Elizabeth Training and Education Center. Really cool building, right? This is sponsored by Duke Energy today. We want to thank OneNKY board member and St. Elizabeth President and CEO Garen Colvin for use of this facility today. I understand Garen is not here, but we also want to thank OneNKY board member and Duke Energy Ohio and Kentucky President Amy Spiller for sponsoring today. If you haven't heard already, if you weren't in here for the last 10 minutes and heard it twice, I hope, if you haven't heard already, we would like you to take the OneNKY challenge, and we want you to spread the word about it. So you will find on your tables a little card holder of 5 of these business cards. QR code is on the back. That connects you to the landing page. We want you to give these to 5 people who can bring some energy and some enthusiasm for our community. So go hand these out when we leave here today. That is homework assignment number 1. There will be more. Our program today features ways in which you can help harness this energy, can provide input, get involved, and all be part of OneNKY. Plus, you're going to hear some updates about some initiatives and some ideas that some folks have for the future here. The theme of this OneNKY Summit is pervasive throughout the entire region. Maybe you have noticed it. It is changing it up in OneNKY, a systemic focus on excellence. So we're going to harness the energy and the enthusiasm in this room to build as one region throughout our community. Today's agenda is a little packed. So you will see there, if you have looked, we're in for it. We're going to ask a lot of you, but that means this is going to go by really quickly. You're going to get some updates on some strategic initiatives. You're going to be asked to help plan for the future of our region because you are here, because you are engaged, whether you're a community or a business leader, or maybe you're here because you have expressed a desire to get even deeper into our community and our business. Part 1 of our program is an overview of the activities. You can see there. I'm pointing at things I don't even know where they are. And the screen's over here. Ooh, boy. It is only 3 o'clock, y'all. So you're going to get an overview of the current efforts, an update from a recent OneNKY survey. You'll get an update on the rollout of some Northern Kentucky regional identity efforts, information related to the OneNKY alignment effort, which brings all of the growth organizations to co-location in that beautiful Corporex building going up there in Covington in 2025, so just next year. You'll get an update on the Corridor of Commerce and CVG Regional Aviation Development Plan, and then we are going to ask for your feedback. That isn't necessarily homework, but that's audience participation. So I hope you're ready. I hope you came ready. Then we'll move into part 2 of the program, featuring the rollout of Educate NKY's strategic plan, you see there, inclusive of an update for a year-long effort. You'll hear about progress related to Breathe Easy and the Breathe Easy Coalition. That's the smoke-free Northern Kentucky initiative. And then we have an exciting announcement from the OneNKY Connector Trail. And then we're going to gather more of your feedback, a second table talk. So we're all going to network later. There are some treats and refreshments later once we get through all of the assigned work. But like I said, this is going to go by really quickly because I think they have planned every second of the next couple of hours for you here in this room. So let's get to the business at hand, shall we? With me here on stage are 3 people who have really helped set the stage for today's summit. You see them there. OneNKY Alliance Chairman Bob Heil. President and CEO of the OneNKY Alliance, Karen Finan, and LinkNKY President and CEO Lacey Starling. Let's kick things off. Bob, I'll start with you. So what is driving the theme today? The theme is systemic change. That's a big phrase. Why focus on that?
Okay, first of all, I'm going to indulge in my notes because it's the only way that I can stay on point and be on the keep the agenda flowing.
I got my cheat sheets too.
Right.
No one judging
Okay. Well, Evan, since our founding in 2017, the OneNKY Alliance has put our efforts towards building unity in our community, focusing and leveraging our greatest asset, which is our people. All of you, all 250 of you, is a testament to the fact that we have a tremendous foundation of engaged leadership. It's just amazing. This is awesome to see all of you here. Thank you. As business owners, we all know that business success is predicated on two things: having the right people and having the right processes or systems for them to operate in. Your presence here is a clear indication that we have the right people. I'm looking around, we have the right people. Now our challenge is to make sure that the systems that we all operate in are correct. I'm a big fan of Donella Meadows, the woman who developed the concept of systems thinking. And she would say that you simply can't ask people to change their behaviors within the same system that they're in and expect to get the desired results. You have to create the systems that drive the behaviors that drive the results. And so it's with that systems mindset, as I look back and think about what we've accomplished since 2017 when we formed, whether by accident or purposeful, we've used systems thinking to launch OneNKY Frankfurt, the OneNKY Center, LinkNKY, Educate NKY, Breathe Easy, and this OneNKY Summit Series, our 7th one. To use a couple examples of that, we could have simply asked our community leaders to go to Frankfurt more often and speak with a stronger voice. We did that in the past. Ask Brent Cooper. I think the chamber has pleaded for that for years. Doesn't work to just ask for that behavior change. So what we did was we created a new system in the premises of the OneNKY Frankfurt facility. So we created a place where community leaders can use as a hub for their advocacy efforts. We created a place that's incredibly visible on Capitol Boulevard, where every single person in the administration and every single legislator and anybody else from around the state who's coming to the Capitol building for whatever business they may have, to see that Northern Kentucky means business. And then the most important part of this, and this is how the Alliance continues to manage this facility, is we program it. We program that facility with events that force the interaction between our General Assembly and our administration and our community leaders. So we suddenly have created a system that drives behaviors, that drives results. And we're seeing those results, are we not? Certainly, we're getting a lot more out of Frankfurt than we ever did before. Another example, and Lacey will speak to this later, but ever since the Kentucky Post closed, we've been pleading with our media partners in Cincinnati to give us a little more attention here in Northern Kentucky. We could have continued to plead and plead and plead, but I doubt that we would have seen much more than marginal attention. So what did we do? We created a new system, if you will, in LinkNKY. We created a new voice for Northern Kentucky. People said we were crazy creating a media company when we did. There were media professionals who had quite a bit of pessimism about whether we could be successful or not, but we did it. And what have we seen? That system now has given rise to a new voice and a new energy for Northern Kentucky, which is palpable. So thank you, Lacey, for your leadership in that. So my hope for this summit is that we can challenge all of you to think in systems. Think not just about asking people to change their behaviors out of their own goodwill. Rather, think about systemic changes that we could make that will inherently drive the outcomes that we want, the outcomes that we need, not just for a select few in our community, but for everyone. Social economic mobility for every Northern Kentuckian should be our goal. So we're asking you today to identify a platform that interests you. You'll hear on a variety of options, but there are more opportunities that could arise. That's happened in past summits when a topic has arisen out of the blue and suddenly all of a sudden we are all, wow, that's something we haven't been paying enough attention to. So no boundaries, no boundaries. But find something that captures your interest make the commitment, take the challenge to be engaged. The format is not going to be us talking. We're going to just tee up a few things, and the rest of the time is for you to discuss, engage, and provide feedback. And your engagement here today is critical, make no mistake, because when we stand together, we know we're stronger. And when we stand together, we have aspirational achievements that are possible.
Thank you, Bob. And clearly the OneNKY challenge is going to take everyone in this room, inside and outside of this community, to further our community for decades to come. For many years, the OneNKY Alliance and the Catalytic Fund worked to make the OneNKY Center a reality. And because of the OneNKY board and many of you in this room, that physical structure is now a reality. And we look forward to being in that building in just a little under a year. By October of next year, we should be settled in the building. But I think now this initiative speaks more about alignment, strategic alignment. And the OneNKY challenge is meant to create that opportunity for strategic alignment as we look across our community and create a culture, a mindset of working together for top priorities and goals that are developed on behalf of our community. Through the technical skills of the Catalytic Fund and the passion of all of our boards, we've turned this into reality, which is such a tribute to the OneNKY community. Lead, align, support. That was a clear mantra as we move forward in discussions with our growth organizations earlier this year. We are all talking about the same things. We all have strategies and tactics that we are implementing for the good of the community. But how do we accelerate that? How do we bring that together and really focus on the top priorities? And I would say to this room of business and community leaders, you should expect nothing less from your growth organization than alignment on goals that move us forward. And that's why we've asked Lacey to be here today as president and CEO of Link Media. Her group ran a resident survey, which we think will help drive the direction of some of these huge goals that we will undertake for decades to come. It's important to hear from the population of Northern Kentucky, Boone, Kenton, Campbell County, but there's also other areas of focus that we'll look into. The 3 counties are doing comprehensive plans. They've sent out surveys related to the vision of what's next for Northern Kentucky. What do residents want to see in their communities? And so there are other pockets that we'll draw from to come back with a very robust menu of opportunities for this community with your input. And so with that, I turn it over to Lacey and ask all of you, take that OneNKY challenge.
Thank you, Karen. So as we say in the biz, this is hot off the presses. We have not released any of this information to the public yet because it isn't quite done. But when Karen asks me to talk about something, I say yes. And so we've got some preliminary information from our community survey. I hope that everyone in this room took the community survey. We conducted this through the months of August and September, and in partnership with Northern Kentucky University and their Center for Economics and several other things that I always forget when I don't have the notes in front of me, but Janet Hara, who is known to all of us. And the reason behind this was that as we look at our coverage of Northern Kentucky, we want to make sure that we're talking about the issues that are important to the greatest number of people. Of course, there are things that have niche interests that we'll continue to cover, but as we look at the big issues, what is it that the residents of Northern Kentucky truly care about? And the best way to find that out is to ask them. So we conducted this survey online and we promoted it in our super issue in August, and also through a bunch of Facebook ads and things like that. Preliminary results are in, and we got a really great distribution of responses from all over Northern Kentucky. So I was happy to see that we didn't have a concentration merely in the urban core or just in Kenton County. We had a nice distribution all across Boone, Kenton, Campbell, urban, suburban, and rural. So that was great to see. So we asked Northern Kentuckians how they rated the quality of life in Northern Kentucky. Good first question, right? The good news is 70+% said that the quality of life was either good or very good in Northern Kentucky. So that's encouraging to hear. The majority of folks would also recommend living in Northern Kentucky to friends and family if folks were looking to move someplace. However, there were plenty of folks who said that Northern Kentucky wasn't a great place to live for one very specific demographic, and that is folks who live below the poverty line. So there is obviously concern in our community about underserved populations and how their quality of life is compared to the average here in our community, which is certainly something to think about. One of the things that stood out to me most, particularly coming into this event today, was how did community members feel about community decision making and how involved they were in community decision making. The largest percentage of our respondents said that they did not feel involved at all in community decision making. And for folks who said they did not feel involved or only felt slightly involved, it was more than 70% of our respondents. Right? These are people who read the paper and take surveys too, right? So this is a really engaged audience. This is not, and for them to feel that way was telling to me. And Karen's heard this a bunch. Other folks have heard me say this a bunch. We have 250 folks in this room who are engaged, who are part of the process. And I see the same faces in most of the rooms that I go into. And that's wonderful because all of you have the best interests of Northern Kentucky in mind. If we don't get beyond the 250 people in this room, though, the change that these organizations want to make isn't going to happen. Folks are going to stay right where they are. We're not going to change the systems if we're asking folks to do that. So that number for me told me that Link has work to do, telling people about how to get involved. Our position always is we don't care what you're involved with. We don't care who you vote for. We just want you to do those things. And so we have work to do on that one. Less than 20% of our respondents were likely to leave in the next 5 years. That's great. It means that people aren't 1 foot out the door here. But if they are going to leave, the reason that was given most frequently was because of community growth and traffic, right? Change is happening in Northern Kentucky. The last question that we asked everyone on the survey was, what is the number one issue facing Northern Kentucky today? I don't think it'll come as a surprise to you that by a landslide, it was the quality and affordability of housing, right? That's the biggest issue that folks indicated here in Northern Kentucky. It's something that we talk about in all of these rooms regularly. It's something that we cover regularly at Link. Number 2 was traffic and road conditions. Those two are related, right? Community growth, housing affordability, traffic. These are the issues. And then number 3 was cost of living. I think all 3 of those are indicative of change and growth in the community. And are we making sure that folks aren't being left behind when we talk about growth as a community here in Northern Kentucky? So I'll tell you to stay tuned. The full results of the survey will be coming out in January, and we are going to be holding numerous community engagement events next year. We had our Amendment 2 event last week. Great turnout, great event, and we're going to be doing more of that in the future. I hope to see most of you there and also bring folks who don't normally come into these rooms to participate in those conversations.
Use those 5 cards.
Your homework assignment.